Are you excited about learning how to enhance your body language and present yourself as that outstanding candidate that will be remembered both in your video interview or in the face-to-face interview when you will be meeting the recruitment team? I know you are. Whatever I'm going to share with you in this video, you can use it for the rest of your life. In any interaction that you want, especially throughout your career development, when you're meeting people for the first time, making sure that you're remembered. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Julia George. I used to be a cabin crew for Qatar Airways for 10 years, where I have resigned from my last work position as a cabin service director. I'm currently studying Master's Studies in Aviation Management at Wildau Institute of Applied Science in Berlin. And I think that this is the right YouTube channel for you to learn how to enhance that body language. And as I have said, make sure that you have been remembered on that video interview, open day, assessment day, whenever you will be meeting with any recruitment team. Let's start. I would like to start this video by mentioning Professor Albert Mahrabian and share a few facts about him. Professor Mahrabian is born in Iran and he has done both his academic studies in bachelor degree and master degree in engineering. However, when it comes to his PhD is in psychology, and therefore his career development led him to being a professor in the field of psychology. Consequently, he has spent much of his career developing skills to quantify and to describe complex psychological data. I find this absolutely inspiring and outstanding, and individuals like Professor Mahrabian are indeed role models to me. So what I want to share with you over here is that he has developed a key interest in the role of the nonverbal communication and the impact that the nonverbal communication has during the face-to-face exchanges. And he has said that there are three core elements in the effective face-to-face communications of emotions or attitude. The first one is the non-verbal behavior, facial expressions, for example, etc., etc. Then we have the tone of voice as a second one, and last but not the least is the literal meaning of the words that we speak. Now, these three essential elements account for how we convey we've been liked or we've been disliked, basically. His particular focus on the importance of such nonverbal clues when they appear to conflict with the words used or the tone of voice that they are spoken. So drawing or coming to the combined findings of his studies and his researches, Professor Mahrabian is the person who formulated the 7-38-55% rule, which means 7% of our communication is actually based on our words, 38% is based on our tone of voice, and believe it or not, 55% is actually based on our body language. So 93% of all that I do right now is not based only on what I'm saying and what I'm going to be saying to you, but it's actually a combination of all these things together. And before I go on further, I just would like to share with you a fact that we all should be aware of, and that fact is that we're all different from each other. I have seen videos on YouTube where cabin crew consultants are actually showing to you how you should walk on your interview, and I'm very sure that they have not approached the subject of the body language from an academic point of view, because if they did, they would know very well that those kind of advices sharing, the way you should walk, are actually not going to be applicable to everyone. The context of our body language and our communication, what we must first know is that all of us, we have differences in our temperaments of our individuals. So what we need is actually a useful tool to make us understand our own behavior and our own responses that we have, and actually to make us learn how we can modify and how we can work on them. Now, there are three elements that I would like you to think about watching this video about yourself. Now, the first element that I would like you to think about at this moment is how pleasant your emotions are. The second one is to think about what is the intensity of your emotions. And the third is a bit more challenging, but please try to think how dominant nature of emotions you have. Now, what I have asked you to do or to evaluate is, do people want to stay in your company? Are you someone that can make people easily laugh? And are you a person that people or friends have told you that a party or a gathering is simply not the same if you are not around? Perhaps now, if the answer to these questions that I have asked related to emotions is are going towards to yes, then you have nothing to worry about. Now, if the answers to the questions that I have asked you are not going towards the yes thing that we want, or you are perhaps not sure about it, then this is the time that we should do something about it. That's why you're watching this video. And what I want you to remember is that I cannot come to your house, or I cannot come to you and shape your body language. I can share with you researches, studies, knowledge, and experience, and it's absolutely up to you whether you would implement what I'm going to share with you over here or not. We're going to talk about the 4 phases of the cabin crew interview, and in these occasions, in these all 4 occasions, when you will be displaying your body language. And before you ask me about whether we're going to talk is applicable to the video interview, I would like to tell you that it's very equally important and applicable there, because even if you're doing a video interview, there is a camera, but still human resources teams are observing you, so don't think that you should be doing something differently, please. The first phase that I have mentioned out of the 4 phases is the phase when you are greeting somebody, when you are greeting the interviewers for the first time, or you're greeting in front of the camera when you are in your online video interview, because when you start, you're supposed to start with a greeting, because later on your video interview will be viewed by someone. Then comes the second phase of your interview, that in your online interview would be the computer asking you those video interview questions, or the recruitment team will be asking you the questions. The third phase is when you get an opportunity to ask a question, and the fourth phase is when you actually are leaving from that interview. What I would like to inform you, and what I would like to highlight in this video and to make you mindful about, is that there are 7 aspects of our body language that we should know about and be mindful about. And these 7 parts are our face, our body, our gestures, our eyes, our touching. Here comes the place when we handshake, the way we are holding perhaps documents in our hands, things that we're holding. Then comes our tone of voice, and last but not the least is the proximity or the space that we are maintaining when we are standing and when we are communicating perhaps with the recruiters, when we are communicating with the other candidates. This basically is related to the space that we are maintaining in front of the camera of our online video interview, let's say, and also it's pretty much applicable to the things that I have mentioned. Now, these are the components that you, including myself, we need to be mindful of and know about before we are starting our cabin crew interview or any other interview that we're going to be conducting, and it's part of an official communication in our life. These are the components that I'm very sure that you have not heard about them from the cabin crew consultants that you have watched their YouTube videos over here, because as much as I have researched and as much as I have checked on these social media platforms, I can see that the cabin crew consultants are pretty much concerned about selling CV templates for 2.5 euros in their very well organized online businesses, basically based on your enormous desire to become a cabin crew, and combined with their need to earn a salary that is as close as to what we were earning when we were cabin crew. But all I can tell and say to those cabin crew consultants is that I really regret that they have forgotten that when we are candidates, we simply don't have the funds to afford such services as they go really into instances that we don't want to talk about in this video. Now, let's start with the first of the 4 stages that we want to talk about in this video. When you meet the recruiters or the video camera on your online video interview, please do showcase that warm 5-star smile of yours. Remember in my video over here on my YouTube channel about the photo requirements, I have shared with you a tip in this moments to think of the person that perhaps you love the most in your life, and then showcase that 5-star smile. And this might also not be even needed. Think about what you want the most in your life at that particular moment. And you are doing that interview because you want to become a cabin crew. You want to make the recruiters remember you as that outstanding candidate whom they would just trust. At that moment, it's very important that you are smiling with an intention to build up a trust with them. Smile from your heart, please. And before you ask me about your teeth and stuff like that, what I want to share personally, and I keep on sharing that, is that today it's the 21st century. There are amazing dentists out there. You should be fixing your teeth and you should be fixing your smile for yourself. You will shine with confidence and self-esteem, and you will eliminate insecurities around you. Please remember, your smile should be present at all point of time during that venue that is happening. The moment you meet the other candidates, when you're establishing eye contact with someone, smile when you're acknowledging that someone is looking at you. Often we also blink when we acknowledge that we know that somebody has looked at us. But we send signals of confirmations that we also have been feeling pleasant being noticed, basically. There is something that I would like to mention over here, and it's related to standing. It is equally important to know that different scenarios during your open day, assessment day, and final interview can happen. This actually has happened to Tolga from Aviation Twins. His Instagram is over here if you would like to follow him. He's a dear friend of mine. He actually took my advice and he went for his open day quite early, and he had a chance to meet the recruiters. And what he actually did while he was sitting, he saw the recruiters, he stand up, he approached the recruiters, he greeted them, and he established a small communication, which I think it was the key point, because he displayed a respectful attitude and he ensured at that time in his opportunity to make sure he's remembered. Now let me go to the recruiters. The recruiters are human resources teams, experts, and make sure that you remember that they have been in the cabin crew role for quite some time before you, so they're there to recruit you, and it will be a plus point for you if you certainly, and as I have said, you will certainly be able to be remembered if when you are seeing them passing by next to you or you're meeting them, to actually stand and greet them. Often candidates are asking me, Julia, should I shake hands with the recruiters? And my answer is, we do not shake hands when we are welcoming customers on board the aircraft. So obviously, you will have to be judging the situations. Let's say you're standing in a line, you're waiting to reach the recruiters to leave your CV. You can see the recruiters having tons of papers they're dealing with, and you're offering your handshake. Now, I don't think it's appropriate there. Another scenario will be you're meeting the recruiters, it's only you and the recruiter, and you're greeting and saying to the recruiter, hello, madam, very warm welcome to you in my country whatsoever, then it's totally fine to shake the hands. Now, it's super different from a situation to a situation, and whenever you're in a crowd with the candidates around you, I do not suggest that you shake hands. Now, on the other, on your one-on-one interview, you can do that. It would be a nice thing if you do the handshake, but please ensure that your nails are well groomed when you do that handshake. They're well moistured. When you do the handshake, do it firmly, but don't break other person's hands. If you are a male and you do not shake hands with female, let's say if the recruiter offers you to shake hands and that's against your culture, then I would suggest that you display in that occasion a cultural intelligence over here. You don't have to shake the recruiter's hands, of course, but if she was going to do that and you cannot, just inform her that it's against your, cultural beliefs and stuff like that. If you refuse politely to not shake hands with the recruiters, then I cannot promise you what will be the outcome. Please do not ask me. But what I can tell you is that you should be a cosmopolitan, and that's all. Now, you will be asked, obviously, to introduce yourself, irrespective that is in the online video interview or at the venue. And please bear in mind, the human resources teams, they know your name very well. I have elaborated this question and how to answer and what is the appropriate answer in a separate YouTube video. And I do believe that if you check my playlist of possible questions and answers that the recruiters might ask you, you will find lots of ideas on how to basically make yourself remembered whenever you're interacting with the recruiters team. So right after this video, just jump on the playlist, and I'm gonna leave the link of that playlist below this video. Something that I would like to highlight over here when you will be in front of the camera and practicing for your interview, try to make your tone of voice as much as you can positive and authoritative. You will be working in an environment where crowd control will be part of your job. I'm not saying that when you're talking you should be rude, but your tone of voice should be welcoming, should be clear, and should display a certain level of I know why I'm standing over here. You can count on me. Remember earlier when we spoke in this video, I have informed you about the fact that 38% of our communication is actually related to our tone of voice that we use when we communicate with others. Now, when the recruiters get your name, when you introduce yourself, and if they have given their name to you, please do repeat their name back, acknowledge their name back. For example, they have said their name, and your way of acknowledging would be nice to meet you too, or it's a pleasure to meet you too, Miss Anna, or whatever the name it was. If they have not given to you the name at that time, judge the situation. If there are a lot of people around, maybe you don't have to ask about the interview name or about the recruiter's name or not. But if it's you and the recruiters together and you are really eager to get to know the recruiter and she has not introduced herself to you, then it's totally fine to ask her for the name. Now, after that introduction, and let's say you have your one-on-one with your interviewer or with your recruiter, most likely when you're entering there, they would ask you to have a seat. I would personally wait until I get invited to be seated, because I know that most probably they will invite me to sit, but if you feel that they have forgotten, then you might want to be kind and ask, are you allowed to sit? If you see that there is a chair, you may say, may I? Now, if you are a male candidate, female irrespectively, what I would suggest you over here as a good manner is, if you are having a jacket and your jacket is buttoned, before you sit down, unbutton your jacket. It's called a bon ton or a good manner, and it's part of a cosmopolitan culture that a candidate should have. This is just a small tip. If you want to implement it, please feel free to do it. Now, we're going to the fun part where everything starts, and this is the time when the recruiters will be asking you questions. Irrespective, this is an online interview or a face-to-face interview with the recruiters, please pay attention to what I'm going to share with you, how to answer the questions. You have a huge playlist on my YouTube channel, which I previously shared to you. There are 200 plus questions that I have answered and given an idea how to answer. I have also elaborated on my Instagram account in those long videos, IGTV videos, on why the recruiters are asking you those questions. So here at this phase, please make sure when you will be answering the questions, make sure you're sitting upright. Now it's the time that your self-awareness should be at the highest point. Check how you're sitting. If, let's say, you are somehow slouching while sitting, this is the time you should practice sitting upright. Also, if you tend to lean on the table, let's say you're sitting, lean on the table, lean back whatsoever, or try to eliminate that. Try to film yourself before you're doing any form of interview to see how you're looking, and that will be the proper way to self-correct yourself, how you're sitting, and what you are basically seeing in yourself when you are seeing that video of yours. Last but not least, when it comes to this, there are a lot of personal coaches who can guide you and assist you in this manner, especially when it comes to your body language. An individual that I truly believe that can do wonders when it comes to your body language. It's also part of the process called Invest in Yourself. It's my dear friend Nidhi Belani. If you subscribe to any of her coaching classes or any of her packages in terms of body language, she can do wonders with you. I promise you that. When you will be listening, when the recruiters are communicating with you, Please do smile, but do not over smile. Smile as in a way that you're acknowledging what they're saying to you, that you're happy being in their company, and that you're actually happy and you like what they're asking you. You should not display a discomfort at this time at all. It is also nice if you mildly nod with your head as a way of acknowledgement as well. Now we come to an important point, and it's called your eye contact. Irrespective, it's a video interview or a face-to-face interview. I have learned that it's important that we understand that interviews are not about realities. Interviews are about perception. Now, the interview itself, it's a communication transfer where we display our personality in front of the recruiters, but it's actually the recruiters' perception, registration, and interpretation of the things that we have displayed when we use the non-verbal, the verbal in the non-verbal clues. Now, it is different with what we speak and how we answer. In our answers to all the questions, we are recorded, and the team of the HR experts are actually evaluating what we have said. Now, the decision whether you will be hired as a cabin crew or not, it's not done on the spot. We wait for that decision until we get the email whether we have been hired or not. So when it comes to the eye contact, it gives the impression that you are listening. Also, do not hesitate to use your hands when you're speaking, just the way I do now in front of you, the way my dear friend Nidhi does when we do all those live sessions together. Just ensure that you do it, but you do not overdo it. Be natural and try not to look like a robot. Now, as much as possible, when you communicate with your hands, have your palms open. Do not cross your arms. Do not point here and there when you will be talking with your fingers, of course. And if you want to point something, let's say to your CV or something else that you need to point at a point in time, please do point with your open palm, just the way I do it right now. Now, it is important that you have the proper empathy face. What do I mean when I say this? This is applicable in all communications when they would be asking you all those possible scenarios of how you would be, let's say, dealing or talking with a special handling customer, let's say, how dedicated you would be to ensure that everybody is well taken care of on board, etc., etc. As a cabin crew, you should be very, very, very empathetic candidate. If you're not that kind of person, try to work on that, please. How? There are ways that I can suggest. One of the ways that I suggested previously, it's the personal coaching sessions with Nidhi Belani. Do it, and I'm very sure, and I can assure you actually that you will not regret it. Now, we have a situation where you are invited to ask questions. It's totally okay to ask questions. What type of questions you should ask, I have well elaborated on my playlist over here under the part of the interview, questions and answers. Prepare yourself those questions in a notes if you want to. It's totally okay to have notes and to start asking. But please remember, you are asking questions when you have been invited to ask. At this time, when you are invited to ask questions, please display excitement, display joy, and smile, please. And since you have been having an opportunity to ask a question, when you do that, I would recommend lean slightly forward as you're sharing how interested you are when you're asking the question and in the answer you're gonna get, but just slightly, don't overdo it. Now over here, it's also important that we use a proper tone when we are asking question. It is important that we are using a tone of voice that has enthusiasm in it. Remember, the cabin crew role or the so-called requirements for hiring someone is that someone should be an enthusiastic person as well. So this is the stage where the recruiters would be able to see how enthusiastic you are. Now, before you ask me which questions you should ask, remember, I have said it earlier on my YouTube channel. Over here, there is a playlist with 200 plus possible questions that the recruiters might want to ask you. And also over there are suggestions of which questions you can ask. Go through the videos and you will find all the answers you need. Now, when you are asking questions, you obviously will be getting answers. So it's super okay if you show how ready you are to learn. Just make sure that you're constantly that you're not constantly writing the entire answer. If you're taking notes, you don't want to look like you are a journalist, but if you want to write something from the answer that they've given you, it's totally fine. Write some points if you want. If you don't, it's totally fine as well. What is important and what you need to pay attention is that you, and we talked about that segment, you are maintaining that eye contact with the recruitment team at all point of time. You're nodding when they're talking to you, etc., etc. Now, when you're done with the conversation with the recruiters, or on your interview and you're about to leave, on your one-on-one interview, you want to shake hands, it's totally fine. Maintain eye contact, of course, and say how delighted and happy you felt. You might be freaking nervous at that time, but please display enthusiasm and please smile. It is important at this stage that you show that you're comfortable of what you have done. If the recruiters have shared their names at the beginning of the presentation, and I'm sure they did, or when they talked at any point, now it's the time that you thank them using their name. Ladies and gentlemen, I do hope that you have liked this video. I'm very sorry about the length, it's a bit long. Now, there will be a bonus video to this video, and that video, I'm gonna share the things that you're not supposed to do during your video interview when it comes to the body language. So make sure you have been subscribed on my YouTube channel over here for the many videos that are coming, and I'm gonna be seeing you very soon. Bye bye and have a nice day.